Hi guys, Ashley here at Gibbs Racing. The car chief is an extremely vital position, not only here at the shop, but also at the track. He's the crew chief's right-hand man. So for this episode of Beyond the Car at JGR, we're going to go talk to Blake Harris, car chief for Martin Truex Jr.
Hey, I'm Blake Harris. I'm the car chief on the 19 car for Martin Truex Jr. I'm from Maypearl, Texas. I got my start in racing growing up around my dad running sprint cars. Finally, 10, 11 years old, I got racing in go-karts and moved on to stock cars and asphalt trucks and late models. And finally, once I graduated high school, I ended up moving out to North Carolina and getting started in the Cup career. The car chief role has a lot of different aspects to it. The biggest thing would be preparation in the shop, and then what we do at the track as far as making sure the car's prepped properly to go on the racetrack, being the setup, and also just making sure that things prepared to go through tech and keeping all the NASCAR officials happy. My week at the shop and the track vary quite a bit. Typically, I've got a team of guys, mechanics, we work on the car at the shop and the track together. So the main thing would be when we get to the shop is just making sure that everything's prepared properly, going through making sure the hauler's turned around, making sure that the cars are up to spec. Anything that NASCAR may have wanted us to fix from the last week, or an update, new rules package or whatever, we make sure all that stuff's prepared prior to getting to the track. And then when we get to the track, just going through presenting the car through tech, making sure the car's prepped, ready to go on the track, making sure everything's tight, all the setup changes are in properly, and just making sure that Martin's going to be safe when he's out there. Sometimes at the track when things go south, the car chief is the guy that gets ejected from an event. We've had that happen a few times in the past, and if it's at the beginning of the weekend, it makes it really challenging. If you fail pre-qualifying inspection a couple times now, the car chief can be gone pretty quick. So you have to have a lot of depth on your rosters. The crew chief will jump in and help do my job. We've got some really good guys that can kind of jump in and help fill that role, and obviously I stay as tight-knit as I can without physically being there throughout the weekend. The relationship with the crew chief is really important in my role. I've known Cole for 10 years now, so we've worked together a lot. There's a lot of things between the prep in the shop and the things at the racetrack you kind of have to know with each other secondhand. I feel like there's majority of stuff that he's going to want. I know 90% of it, and that way when we get in those crunch time situations and we get in a situation where there's not a lot of room for error without having to ask every little thing because we've worked together so long, that's really important. At the track during the race, I do jump over the wall. Hopefully not for damage repair, but when it comes to damage repair, I will jump over and do whatever repairs are necessary to get the car back going. And also I'll go over, and if Martin needs a water during the race or pull a windshield tear off, if his windshield gets dirty, that's also my responsibility. I think one of the hardest things we have to adjust at the car now is just when we get into situations in practice, if you have any type of engine failure or driveline components, transmissions, something that's kind of like deep into the race car. As far as springs and any setup adjustments, I mean, we've got those down to where we can do those kind of in just a few minutes. Even if we got to go up to scales, we can do that in 8 to 10 minutes pretty efficiently. But when you get some main component fail, or you have an issue, or we're at a road course and we need to change a transmission ratio, you've got to drop kind of everything that's tucked up underneath that stuff, and doing that in a timely manner. You typically like to do that between practice. Speedway racing is probably the most difficult track to prepare cars for. You see guys go out there and qualify, and everybody's looking for every little ounce of drag to get out of these things. So Daytona, especially speed weeks, you got the shootout and the 500, and it's pretty prestigious to sit on the pole at one of those events. So you want to we always put everything we have into these things, but I think those speedway races, you end up trying to pick every little detail out of it to make sure you get that in the car. It's always good to get that first win knocked out for the year. We were glad to get that at Richmond. I don't really feel like it changes much strategy for us, though. We want to win everything. You want to win all the stages. You want to win all the races. Unfortunately, it doesn't play out like that, but the playoff points are very important. Getting in the playoffs is the number one, obviously, but being able to obtain as many points as you can throughout the season to build a little bit of a cushion in case you have a little bit of a hiccup in one of the later rounds definitely serves a lot of purpose in trying to get to Homestead.